The large view screen on the bridge of the UES Defiant showed stars and the empty blackness of space. Alan Miller stood with his hands behind his back, watching and waiting. His gray uniform was neat and clean, showing his rank as Earth's top diplomat. 20 years in space had left lines on his face, but his eyes were still sharp and alert. "Sir, we have something on long-range scanners," said Officer Ben Hayes, his voice breaking the silence on the bridge. Captain Sofia Rodriguez moved quickly to the scanner station. She was tall, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her face showed no fear, though everyone on the bridge felt it. "How many ships?" she asked. Hayes looked up from his screen, his face pale. "At least 50, Captain. Maybe more coming behind them." Miller and Rodriguez shared a look. The reports had been right. The Zenithian Empire had finally found Earth. For years, humans had been expanding into nearby star systems, building colonies and exploring. All the while, they had heard stories about the massive Zenithian Empire that ruled most of the galaxy. An empire that forced all other species to join them or die. Now they were here. "All stations battle ready," Rodriguez ordered. The bridge crew moved with quick, practiced motions. Red warning lights came on, and alarms sounded throughout the ship. Miller moved to Rodriguez's side. "Remember what we discussed," he said quietly. "We need to buy time. The rest of the fleet isn't in position yet." The captain nodded. "I know the plan. Let's hope it works." The lead Zenithian ship was massive, at least 5 times the size of the Defiant. Its dark metal hull seemed to swallow the light of the nearby sun. Smaller ships moved around it like worker bees around their queen. "They're sending a message," said Lisa Wright from the communication station. "Audio and visual." Rodriguez straightened her uniform. "Put it on screen." The view screen changed to show the inside of the Zenithian ship. The alien that looked back at them was tall and strange. It had 6 eyes and a circle pattern on its face. Its skin shimmered with an inner light that changed colors as it moved. "I am High Commander Vexnar of the Galactic Zenithian Empire," the alien said. Its voice came through the translation system with a flat, machine-like quality. "Your species has been expanding into space without permission. This stops now." Miller stepped forward. "I am Alan Miller, Chief Diplomat of the United Earth Alliance. We welcome peaceful contact with your empire." The alien's 6 eyes all narrowed at once. "Peace is only possible through your complete surrender. The empire claims all your worlds, resources, and people. Your species will serve the empire as all others do." Miller kept his face calm, though inside he felt a chill. The reports about the Zenithians had been correct. They didn't make deals. They only accepted total control. "Perhaps we could discuss terms that would benefit both our peoples," Miller suggested, playing for time. Vexnar made a sound that the translator didn't catch. It might have been a laugh. "There are no terms. There is only the Empire. You have 1 Earth day to prepare your leaders for surrender. After that, we will take what is ours." The screen went dark. "Well, that went about as expected," Rodriguez said, turning to her tactical officer. "Status of the defense systems?" "Quantum buoys are ready to deploy on your command," the officer replied. "Earth's orbital platforms are armed and waiting." Miller moved to the communication station. "Send word to all colonies. Operation Porcupine is now active." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Porcupine?" Miller allowed himself a small smile. "An Earth animal. Small, not very threatening at first glance. But try to grab one and you'll get a handful of sharp quills." "Let's hope the Zenithians bleed easily," Rodriguez said. The next hours were a blur of activity. The UES Defiant moved into position near Earth's moon, joining a growing line of defense ships. The largest human fleet ever assembled was forming up, but everyone knew it wasn't enough. The Zenithians had more ships, bigger weapons, and advanced technology. But humans had something the Zenithians didn't know about. "The first enemy ships are moving into Earth orbit," Hayes reported. "They're deploying smaller craft. Looks like they're preparing for ground invasion." On the view screen, they watched as the massive Zenithian vessels moved with perfect formation into position around Earth. One of the ships fired a bright beam of energy at an orbital defense platform. The platform exploded in a ball of fire. "They're not waiting for their deadline," Rodriguez noted. "They never planned to," Miller replied. "Captain, I think it's time." Rodriguez nodded and pressed a button on her command chair. "All ships deploy quantum buoys. Activate Nemesis protocol." Around Earth and throughout the solar system, small devices that had been hidden on asteroids, moons, and orbital stations suddenly activated. Each created a field that disrupted the Zenithians' advanced communication systems. On the view screen, they could see the effect immediately. The perfect formation of enemy ships faltered. Some ships stopped moving. Others changed direction nearly, crashing into each other. "It's working," Hayes said with excitement. "Their quantum communication network is down." The Zenithians relied on instant communication using quantum entanglement. It allowed their ships to act as one perfect unit, controlled by central command. Without it, they had to fall back on much slower and less effective methods. "All ships, attack pattern Delta," Rodriguez ordered. "Target their command vessels first." The human fleet moved in. Their ships were smaller and less powerful than the Zenithian vessels, but now they had an advantage. Human crews were trained to act on their own, to make decisions without constant orders from above. The Zenithians weren't. Miller watched as the battle unfolded. Human ships darted between the larger enemy vessels, firing with precision at key points. The Zenithians responded slowly, their perfect coordination now broken. "Sir," Hayes called out, "enemy troops have landed in major cities. Beijing, New York, London, Moscow all report ground fighting." Miller nodded grimly. They had expected this. "Open a channel to all Earth forces." When the connection was ready, Miller spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Chief Diplomat Miller to all Earth Defense Forces. Remember your training. The enemy expects us to fight like they do, in large groups with central command. Use small teams, strike and move, don't stay in one place. They don't understand our kind of warfare. Show them why they should have studied us better." Throughout Earth's cities, human soldiers faced the alien invaders. The Zenithians were taller, stronger, and had better weapons. But humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other. They knew every trick of urban warfare, guerrilla tactics, and surprise attacks. In New York, a small team led by Major Frank Harris used the city's subway tunnels to move behind Zenithian lines and attack from the rear. In Beijing, civilians helped soldiers set traps in narrow streets. In London, snipers hidden in damaged buildings picked off Zenithian commanders. Back on the Defiant, Rodriguez received reports from around the system. "We've destroyed 3 of their cruisers," she said, "but we've lost 11 of our ships." Miller nodded. "The ground reports are similar. We're hurting them, but they have numbers on their side." A new alarm sounded. Hayes looked up from his station with wide eyes. "Captain, the enemy command ship is hailing us." Rodriguez and Miller shared a surprised look. "Put it through," the captain ordered. High Commander Vexnar appeared on screen again. The shimmer of his skin was now a dark red. His 6 eyes moved independently, scanning something they couldn't see. "What have you done?" the alien demanded. "How are you blocking our quantum network?" Miller stepped forward. "We've been studying you for years, Commander. Did you really think we would face you unprepared? Impossible. No species has technology that can disrupt quantum entanglement. Perhaps you should have researched us better before you attacked," Miller said. "We may be new to the galaxy, but we are very old at war." The Zenithian commander's skin flashed with changing colors. "This changes nothing. We will still conquer your worlds. It will simply take longer." Miller smiled thinly. "Then I suggest you pack extra supplies. You're going to need them." As the transmission ended, Rodriguez looked at Miller. "That was our first victory. Small, but important." Miller nodded, watching the battle continue on the view screen. They expected an easy fight. Now they know better. He turned to face the captain. "But this is just the beginning. Send word to activate Phase 2. Across the solar system, hidden, Human bases on moons, asteroids, and small planets began to power up. The real fight was just starting. High Commander Vexnar stared at the large display screen on his command ship. Red dots showed Zenithian ships and troops. Blue dots showed human forces. Too many red dots were disappearing. "This does not match our battle predictions," he said, to his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Ziv. "The humans should have been crushed by now." Ziv looked at the complex patterns of light that floated above the command table. "Our prediction systems have never failed before. These humans fight strangely." Another alarm sounded as a red dot vanished from the display. Another Zenithian cruiser lost. "How are they doing this?" Vexnar demanded. "Their weapons are less advanced. Their ships are smaller. Their soldiers are weaker, yet they continue to resist." "We're getting reports from the ground forces," Ziv said, reading from a screen. "The humans are not fighting in large formations as expected. They break into small groups. They hide. They strike from nowhere and disappear again." Vexnar's skin flashed dark colors of anger and confusion. In 50,000 years of conquering the galaxy, the Empire had never faced an enemy like this. "And their communication system," Ziv continued. "We still cannot break it. They're using old radio signals, physical message carriers, even primitive light signals. It's like they prepared for us to cut their advanced communications." "They did," Vexnar realized. "They knew exactly how we would attack." Far below on Earth's surface, Lieutenant Kate Green and her squad moved silently through the ruins of what had once been downtown Chicago. Her powered battle armor was dirty and scratched, but still working. The small team of 6 soldiers had been behind enemy lines for 3 days now. "Status report," Green whispered into her comm unit. "Enemy patrol coming from the north," replied Private Sam Young, who was scouting ahead. "1 commander, 8 soldiers." Green smiled beneath her helmet. "Perfect. Get back to position, standard trap pattern C." Her soldiers moved quickly and quietly, setting up in the broken buildings around a small open square. The humans had learned quickly that the Zenithian troops always followed their commanders and moved in tight formations. This made them easy to ambush. Green checked her weapon, an electromagnetic pulse rifle. It didn't kill the aliens directly, but overloaded their high-tech armor and weapon systems. Once disabled, the Zenithians were much easier to deal with. She heard the heavy footsteps of the alien patrol approaching. The aliens were tall, nearly 7 feet, with their strange, multi-eyed faces. Their armor was smooth and shiny, with glowing parts that probably helped them communicate with each other. Green waited until the entire patrol had entered the square. Then she gave the signal. "Now." From 6 different positions, EMP rifles fired at once. Blue energy hit the Zenithian soldiers. From all sides, their armor sparked and failed. Their weapons fell silent. The alien commander tried to call for help, but Green's first shot had taken out his communication unit. The humans quickly moved in. Standard bullets worked fine against the aliens once their armor was down. Within 30 seconds, the entire patrol was eliminated. "Check them for anything useful," Green ordered. 5 minutes, then we moved to the next target." As her soldiers searched the alien bodies, Green received a message through her secure comm unit. "Lieutenant Green, Central Command. Phase 2 is now active. Fall back to blue line positions." "Understood," she replied. Phase 2 meant the orbital battle was moving to a new stage. Her team needed to get to safer ground. "Pack up," she told her squad. "We're heading south to the rally point. New orders coming in." In space, Admiral John Peters watched from the bridge of the UES Dauntless as Earth's secret weapon revealed itself. Hidden bases on Mars, the Moon, and several asteroids activated massive energy cannons that had been built in secret over the past 5 years. Earth scientists had known the Zenithians were coming. They had prepared. The new weapons fired beams of concentrated particles that could cut through even the strongest Zenithian shields. 3 enemy destroyers were hit in the first salvo, their hulls splitting open like broken eggs. "Direct hit on all targets," reported the weapons officer. "Recharging now." Peters nodded. "Send word to all ships. Move into attack pattern Echo. Focus fire on their command ships." The human fleet moved with careful coordination. Unlike the Zenithians, who relied on their now disrupted quantum network, human ships used a mix of short-range encrypted radio, light signals, and pre-planned maneuvers. Each captain knew what to do even without constant orders. On the Zenithian command ship, Vexnar watched with growing alarm as more of his fleet was damaged or destroyed. "Where did these weapons come from?" he demanded. "Our scouts reported nothing like this." "The humans hid them well," Ziv replied. "Ziv. They must have been preparing for years." Vexnar slammed his long fingers on the command table. "The Supreme Council said this would be an easy conquest. These humans were supposed to be primitive." A new alarm sounded. Ziv looked at his screen, his 6 eyes widening. "Commander, we're detecting energy spikes from Earth's moon. They have another weapons platform there, much larger than the others." Before Vexnar could respond, a massive energy beam shot from the dark side of the moon. It hit the Zenithian troop carrier that was bringing reinforcements to Earth. The huge ship broke apart. Thousands of Zenithian soldiers lost in an instant. "Send a message to the Supreme Council," Vexnar ordered. "We need reinforcements. These humans are more dangerous than we thought." Ziv hesitated. "Sir, with the quantum network down, we can't reach the council. We would need to send a ship back to our territory." Vexnar's skin turned a pale green, the Zenithian color of worry. "Then prepare a fast scout ship. The council must know what we face here." Back on Earth, Alan Miller and Captain Rodriguez had moved to the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Here, military leaders from all Earth nations coordinated the defense of the planet. "The space battle is going better than expected," General Laura White reported. "The Zenithians have lost 23 ships so far. We've lost 17. "And on the ground?" Miller asked. "More mixed," White replied. "They control parts of major cities but can't expand their territory. Our guerrilla tactics are working. They don't know how to fight small mobile teams that keep changing tactics." Rodriguez studied the global battle map. "They're learning, though. Their troops are starting to break into smaller groups to counter our tactics." Miller nodded. "That's to be expected. But they're still thinking like Zenithians, looking for patterns to analyze, trying to optimize their approach. They don't understand human creativity in battle." "What about Phase 3, White asked. "Not yet," Miller replied. "Let's see if they call for reinforcements first. I want them to commit more ships before we reveal everything." A young officer approached, with a tablet. "Sir, we've intercepted a transmission from the Zenithian command ship. They're sending a scout vessel back to their territory, probably to request help." Miller smiled. "Perfect. Admiral Peters, can you track that scout ship?" Peters' face appeared on a screen. "Already on it, sir. We have 2 stealth vessels following at a safe distance." "Good," Miller said. "Let it go, but have our ships record everything they can about its path and communication methods. When Phase 3 begins, we'll need that information." Rodriguez looked at Miller with concern. "Phase 3 is risky. If it fails, we lose our biggest advantage." "It won't fail," Miller said confidently. "The Zenithians have conquered 200 worlds by following the same pattern every time. They've never had to adapt to an enemy like us." He turned to look at the global map, where countless small battles were being fought across Earth's surface. "They expect us to either surrender or fight a conventional war," Miller continued. "They don't understand that humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've tried every possible tactic, counter-tactic, and counter-counter-tactic. We've mastered deception, misdirection, and psychological warfare." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "And now they're learning why no one should want to fight humans." "Exactly," Miller said. "Phase 1 showed them we can disrupt their communication. Phase 2 showed them we have weapons they didn't expect. Phase 3 will show them something they've never seen in their 50,000 years of conquest." "And what's that?" General White asked. Miller's face grew serious. "That humans don't just fight to survive. We fight to win no matter the cost. We're about to take this war to their territory." Across the solar system, hidden shipyards revealed themselves as massive stealth fields dropped. Hundreds of small, Fast attack ships that had been built in secret were now ready to launch. The counter-invasion of Zenithian territory was about to begin. Dr. Nicole Baker stood in the center of the Earth Defense Force's Psychology Division. Screens surrounded her, each showing videos of Zenithian behavior in battle. She had spent the last 3 days studying every piece of information about the aliens. "They're too predictable," she told the military leaders gathered around her. "That's their weakness." General Laura White looked skeptical. "Predictable? They've conquered 200 worlds. How is that a weakness?" "Because they've never had to change their methods," Baker explained. She pushed her glasses up and pointed to a screen showing Zenithian troops moving in formation. "Look at how they fight. Perfect lines, perfect spacing. They follow the same patterns every time because those patterns have always worked before." Alan Miller nodded slowly. "They've never faced an enemy that made them adapt." "Exactly," Baker said. "Their entire society is built on order and control. They literally cannot understand our human ability to function in chaos." She changed the main screen to show a map of human resistance cells across Earth and the solar system. Some followed direct orders from Central Command. Others operated on their own. All fought in different ways, changing tactics constantly. "This is driving them crazy," Baker said with a small smile. "Their battle computers can't predict what we'll do next because we don't follow logical patterns." Captain Rodriguez studied the map. "So what do you suggest?" "We need to increase the chaos," Baker replied. "Phase 3 is perfect for this. Instead of just defending, we take the fight to them in ways they can't anticipate." Miller turned to Admiral Peters, whose image appeared on a communication screen. "Admiral, is the Ghost Fleet ready?" Peters nodded. "All ships prepared and crews briefed. We can launch whenever you give the order." "And Operation Trojan Horse?" Miller asked. "Captain Doug Warren and his team are in position," Peters confirmed. "They've modified the captured Zenithian scout ship and are ready to go." Miller looked around at the assembled leaders. "Then it's time for Phase 3. Far from Earth, Captain Doug Warren sat in the command chair of a Zenithian scout ship. His Special Forces team had captured it during an early battle and spent weeks learning how to operate it. Now they waited at the edge of the solar system, watching as the real Zenithian scout ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. "Target is powering FTL drives," reported his second-in-command, Lieutenant Jane Kelly. "Ready to follow on. Your mark." Warren nodded. "Remember, keep a safe distance. We need to see where they go, but we can't let them detect us." The Zenithian ship disappeared in a flash of light as it jumped to FTL speed. Seconds later, Warren's team activated their own FTL drive following the energy trail left behind. "FTL jump successful," Kelly announced. "We're tracking their path." Warren smiled. "Good. Now we find out where their home base is." Meanwhile, across the solar system, hundreds of small, fast human ships emerged from hidden bases. These were the Ghost Fleet, vessels designed for one purpose: to strike deep into enemy territory. Admiral John Peters addressed the fleet captains from his command ship. "Your mission is simple but dangerous. Follow the mapped routes of Zenithian supply ships. Attack their outposts, colonies, and supply lines. Don't try to hold territory. Strike fast and disappear." The captains understood. This wasn't about winning battles. It was about spreading fear. "Remember," Peters continued, "the Zenithians have never had to defend their own territory before. They've always been the attackers. Now we show them what it feels like to be hunted." The Ghost Fleet ships moved out, using the stealth technology that humans had developed over decades of war against each other. They slipped past the remaining Zenithian blockade ships and disappeared into deep space. On Earth, the ground war continued. Lieutenant Kate Green and her squad had joined a larger force to retake Chicago. The humans had learned quickly how to fight the Zenithians effectively. "Remember," Green told her soldiers as they prepared to attack an alien position, "aim for the central eye. It disrupts their coordination." The humans had discovered many weaknesses in the alien forces. Zenithians had better technology but were physically slower than humans. They couldn't handle bright flashing lights. Their commanders always stayed in the same position in their formations, making them easy targets. As Green's forces attacked, they used all these weaknesses. Bright strobe lights disoriented the aliens, snipers targeted commanders. Small, fast-moving teams struck from multiple directions at once. The Zenithians tried to maintain their perfect formations, but in the tight streets and buildings of the human city, this made them vulnerable. They couldn't adapt quickly enough. One by one, major cities around the world were being reclaimed by human forces. On the Zenithian command ship, High Commander Vexenar received terrible news. "Sir," Ziv reported, his skin pale with fear, "we're getting emergency signals from our outer colonies. They're under attack." "Impossible," Vexenar said. "No species has ever attacked Zenithian territory. Who would dare?" "The humans, sir. They're everywhere. Small ships attacking and disappearing before our forces can respond." Vexenar's skin turned dark with rage. "How did they get past our defenses? How did they even know where our colonies are?" "We don't know, sir. But there's more." Ziv hesitated. "The attacks don't follow any pattern we can identify. Our prediction systems are useless." As Vexenar tried to process this news, another alarm sounded. "Now what?" he demanded. "Message from one of our scout ships returning from the council," Ziv said. "But it's strange." "Put it on screen," Vexenar ordered. The view screen showed the bridge of a Zenithian scout ship, but instead of a Zenithian commander, a human face appeared. The human wore a Zenithian command uniform, modified to fit his smaller body. "Greetings, High Commander," the human said with a smile. "Captain Doug Warren of Earth's Special Forces. I thought you should know we visited your home world. Lovely place. The Supreme Council sends their regards." Vexenar stood in shock. How did you?" "You should improve your security," Warren said. "It was too easy to follow your scout ship, copy its identification codes, and walk right into your central command." "What have you done?" Vexenar demanded, his voice shaking with rage and fear. Warren's smile disappeared. "We delivered a message, the same message I'm giving you now." His face grew serious. "Run." The transmission cut off. Vexenar turned to Ziv. "Contact the Supreme Council. Now." After several tense minutes, a connection was established, but instead of the usual formal greeting, the first speaker of the council looked agitated, his skin flashing colors of alarm. "High Commander," the first speaker said, "we have been infiltrated. Humans somehow reached our central planet. They didn't attack with weapons, but with information." "What information?" Vexenar asked. "Everything. Our battle plans. Our weaknesses. Our secret fears." The first speaker's voice dropped lower. "They left data packets in our central computer containing detailed plans for how they would destroy our entire empire if we continue this war." "Are they bluffing?" Vexenar asked. "We don't think so," the first speaker replied. "The plans are too detailed, too specific to our vulnerabilities. These humans." He paused. "They don't think like any species we've encountered before." Back on Earth, Miller received the report from Captain Warren. The mission had been successful. The Zenithian Supreme Council had received the message. "What do you think they'll do?" Rodriguez asked. Miller watched the battle displays showing human forces reclaiming territory on Earth while the Ghost Fleet spread chaos through Zenithian space. "They'll call for talks," he predicted. "The Zenithians have never faced an enemy who could reach their homeworlds. We've shown them something new. Fear." General White looked unconvinced. "They still have more ships, more weapons. They could still win a long war." "True," Miller agreed. "But we've changed the equation. Before, they thought conquering us would be easy and profitable. Now they know it would be long, costly, and dangerous even for their home worlds." He turned to Dr. Baker. "What's your assessment of their psychology?" Baker smiled slightly. "They're experiencing something entirely new to them, uncertainty. Their perfect ordered society is based on knowing exactly what will happen next. We've taken that away from them. Right now they're asking themselves one question." "What's that?" Rodriguez asked. Baker's smile grew. "Is conquering humans worth the risk of humans conquering them?" The Zenithian Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds over 50,000 years. They had never lost a war. Their method was always the same: arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush any resistance. It had always worked. Until they met humans. High Commander Vexenar had called an emergency meeting on his command ship. The holographic images of his top officers appeared around the command table, their faces showing unusual emotions for Zenithians: worry, confusion, even fear. "Our situation is difficult," Vexenar began. "The humans continue to resist on their home planet. Worse, they have somehow launched attacks against our territory." "How is this possible?" asked Fleet Commander Ral. "No species has ever reached Zenithian space without our knowledge." "These humans are different," Vexenar admitted. "They do not fight like other species. They adapt. They change tactics constantly. Our prediction systems are useless against them." Commander Nar, in charge of ground forces, spoke next. "My troops report the same problem. The humans fight in small independent groups. They use our own formations against us. When we adapt to one tactic, they switch to another." Vexenar's skin darkened with frustration. "The Supreme Council demands answers. They want to know how a seemingly primitive species has managed to not only resist us but threaten our own territory." The commanders fell silent. None had good answers. "There is something else?" Vexenar continued. "When the humans infiltrated our central command, they left detailed information about our empire in their data packet. Information they should not have." "What kind of information?" Ral asked. "Everything. Weaknesses in our ship designs, flaws in our battle tactics, even the location of the council members' private retreats." Vexenar's voice became quiet. "It's as if they've been studying us for decades." The commanders looked at each other with new concern. "How could they know so much?" Commander Nar asked. "I don't know," Vexenar admitted. "But I do know this. The Supreme Council is considering something unprecedented in our history." All six of his eyes focused on the gathered commanders. "They are considering peace talks with the humans." On Earth, Captain Olivia Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, leading a small fleet of human ships on what appeared to be a suicide mission. They had slipped past the Zenithian blockade and were heading straight for the newly arrived Zenithian reinforcement fleet. "All ships, maintain stealth approach," Chen ordered. "Remember the mission. We're not here to destroy their warships." Her second-in-command, Commander Paul Davis, studied the tactical display. "The automated manufacturing vessels are at the rear of their formation, just as intelligence reported." Chen nodded. "Those are our targets. The Zenithians can replace warships. They can't quickly replace the factories that make them." The human ships moved silently through space, using the advanced stealth technology developed during decades of Cold War on Earth. The Zenithians, for all their advanced weapons, had never needed to develop good stealth detection. They had always been the hunters, never the hunted. "Weapon range in 30 seconds, Davis reported. Chen opened a channel to all ships in her fleet. "Remember, fire only on my command. One perfect strike, then immediate withdrawal. No heroics today." The human ships glided into position behind the massive Zenithian factory ships. These enormous vessels contained automated systems that could produce weapons, armor, and even components for new warships. They were vital to the Zenithian war effort, and completely undefended. "Fire," Chen ordered. All human ships fired at once. Advanced missiles designed to penetrate shields hit the factory ships in their most vulnerable points. Explosions rippled across the massive vessels. "Direct hits on all targets," Davis reported with satisfaction. "Substantial damage to their manufacturing capabilities." Chen nodded. "All ships withdraw immediately. Return to rendezvous point using scattered routes." The human fleet split up, each ship taking a different escape path. By the time the Zenithian warships realized what had happened and turned to attack, the humans were gone. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Zenithians would be expecting the humans to attack their warships following conventional military logic. But humans had learned long ago that targeting an enemy's production capabilities was often more effective than destroying their existing weapons. In the underground command center on Earth, Alan Miller received Chen's report with satisfaction. "Another successful strike," he told the assembled leaders. "We're not trying to win by destroying their fleet. We're showing them that this war will cost them more than they ever imagined." Admiral Peters nodded. "The Ghost Fleet has hit 17 colony worlds so far. No major damage, but enough to create panic. The Zenithians have started pulling ships back to defend their territory." "And our ground forces?" Miller asked. General White displayed the global battle map. "We've reclaimed 60% of occupied territory. The Zenithians are consolidating their remaining forces in defensive positions." "They're shifting to a defensive strategy," Miller noted. "That's a first in their history." Dr. Baker, who had been studying new intelligence reports, looked up. "There's something else. We're seeing changes in their communication patterns. More independent decision-making by field commanders." "They're learning," Rodriguez said with concern. "Yes, but too slowly," Baker replied. "They're trying to copy our tactics without understanding why they work. It's like they're following a cookbook without knowing the basic principles of cooking." Miller studied the reports. "What about the psychological impact of our warning?" Baker smiled slightly. "That's where we're having the most success. The word run is spreading through their ranks. It's becoming something like a human ghost story. Their soldiers are growing nervous, always looking over their shoulders." Miller nodded with satisfaction. "Good. Fear is a weapon they've never had to face before." On a Zenithian colony world far from Earth, a small team of human special forces moved silently through the alien city. They weren't there to fight or destroy. They had a different mission. Team leader Ryan Cole checked his stealth suit's systems one last time. "Remember, no shooting unless absolutely necessary. We're here to deliver a message, not start a battle." His 5 team members nodded. They had trained for months for this mission. The team reached the central communication hub of the colony. While 2 soldiers stood guard, the others quickly attached small devices to the main computer systems. "Uploading now," reported tech specialist Linda Garcia. 20 seconds to completion." Cole kept watch, his weapon ready. But no alarm sounded. The Zenithians had never expected enemies to infiltrate this far into their territory. Their security was designed to control conquered populations, not stop elite infiltrators. "Upload complete," Garcia announced. "System access established." Cole nodded. "Send the package." Garcia typed a final command. Throughout the colony, every communication device, every screen, every public announcement system suddenly activated at once. They all displayed the same, simple message translated into the Zenithian language. "We are humans. We know where you sleep. Run." Along with the message, the systems played visual recordings of human special forces teams infiltrating Zenithian bases, of Ghost Fleet ships destroying Zenithian outposts, and of Zenithian troops retreating from human forces on Earth. "Message delivered," Garcia said with satisfaction. "Colony network compromised. Similar messages will randomly appear in their systems for weeks." "Good," Cole replied. "Let's move to the next target." Across Zenithian space, similar teams were delivering the same message to dozens of worlds. It wasn't just about the words. It was about showing the Zenithians something they had never experienced before. The feeling of being watched, of being vulnerable, of being hunted. On the Zenithian command ship, Vexnar received reports from panicked colony governors. "They're everywhere," one governor exclaimed. "These humans, they appear and disappear like ghosts." Vexnar tried to maintain his calm, but his skin betrayed his emotions, flashing colors of distress. "Increase security on all worlds. Double the guard on critical facilities." But even as he gave the orders, Vexnar knew it wouldn't be enough. The Empire had always been the attacker, never the defender. Their entire military was designed to conquer, not to protect. As he turned away from the communication screen, Vexnar noticed something on his desk that made his heart stop. A small metal object that hadn't been there before. He picked it up carefully. It was a simple metal coin with a human face engraved on it. On the back were words in the human language, which his translator converted. "We were here while you were sleeping." Vexenar looked around his private quarters in alarm. How had a human entered the most secure room on his command ship? When had they been here? For the first time in his long career, the High Commander of the glorious Zenithian fleet felt something, new personal fear. He pressed his communication button with trembling fingers. "Send a message to the Supreme Council," he ordered. Tell them I recommend immediate peace negotiations with the humans." 3 months after the Zenithian Empire first attacked Earth, something happened that had never occurred in their 50,000-year history. They asked for peace talks. A special meeting place was prepared on a space station orbiting Jupiter. The station was built quickly just for this purpose, with rooms that could accommodate both human and Zenithian representatives. Alan Miller led the human delegation. Despite all the fighting, he still believed in his role as a diplomat. Captain Rodriguez and several military leaders went with him. Dr. Baker joined as an advisor on Zenithian psychology. The first speaker of the Zenithian Supreme Council came in person, something unheard of in their history. 6 tall Zenithians entered the meeting room, their skin shifting through various colors that showed their unease. "We have reviewed your species more carefully," the first speaker began. His voice was deeper than Vexenar's, and he spoke slowly. "You are unusual." Miller nodded politely. "Humans tend to be that way." "You fight with remarkable skill for a young species," the first speaker continued. "Yet you also show mercy to prisoners. You destroy our ships yet leave escape pods untouched. You are contradictory." "That's human nature," Miller replied simply. "We contain many opposites within us." The peace talks lasted for 2 weeks. The Zenithians, for all their pride, were practical. They recognized that conquering humans would cost too much. The final agreement was historic. For the first time, the Zenithian Empire would recognize another species as equals, not subjects. Earth and human colonies would remain independent. A border between human and Zenithian space was established. Trade agreements were signed. As Miller and the first speaker signed the final document, Dr. Baker whispered to Rodriguez, "They still don't really understand us, do they?" Rodriguez watched the Zenithians carefully. "No, but they fear us enough to respect us. For now, that's sufficient." The treaty ended the war and established humanity as a new power in the galaxy. More importantly, it set a precedent that would change galactic politics forever. In the years that followed, other species within the Zenithian Empire began to question their status. Some asked for more rights. Others demanded independence. The humans sometimes helped these movements, sometimes mediated peace talks between rebels and the Empire. Slowly, the Zenithian Empire began to change from a conquering force into something more like a federation of willing partners. Change came slowly, with many setbacks, but it was steady. 100 years after first contact, Alan Miller, now very old but still sharp, gave a speech at the United Galactic Assembly, where representatives from Earth, the Zenithian Empire, and dozens of other species gathered. "A century ago, we warned the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known to run," Miller reminded everyone. "Not because we were stronger, but because we were different. We understood something they didn't, that true civilization isn't built on conquest but on cooperation." He looked at the Zenithian representatives as he finished. "We didn't just save ourselves that day. In a way, we saved you too. We showed you another path forward." In the audience, High Elder Vexenar, once High Commander, now an advocate for reform within Zenithian society, nodded slowly in agreement. The humans had indeed been unlike any species the Empire had encountered before. Their simple warning, to run, hadn't been just a threat. It had been the first step toward a better galaxy for everyone. The end.